All right.
Shantanu, can you quickly check if you have opened this session on YouTube on your current this device or any other device? We are getting echo from your side. We are live, we have started, but yeah, we are getting echo from your side. Can you check if YouTube is open in your system? Anyway, can you
we are getting echo from your side. No, it's not open.
We are live, we have started, but yeah, we are getting echo from your side. Can you check if YouTube is open in your system? Anyways, can you check echo from your side?
No, it's not open.
We are live, we have started, but yeah, we are getting echo from your side. Can you check if YouTube is open? Paridhi, can you come in, please? Paridhi.
Guys, yes, I am just gonna check if there is a technical glitch. I think that's Shantanu's system. I'm so sorry. Yeah. So allow me a minute. Okay, meanwhile you guys are there. I can't see how many of us are sitting here, but it's going to be an interesting session with Shantanu since he's an INSEAD Alum. Just to introduce him a little, he is a 2017 graduate, and he realized that his passion for coaching is precisely because he realized that 80% of the batchmates that he went to INSEAD with, they were clueless about what they wanted to get out of their degree. And that's when Shantanu started working on different frameworks of what MBA can do wonders to their profile. And that's how we came up with MBA and Beyond, figuring out how specifically a certain framework and a process can help you crack INSEAD. So everything that we follow is currently based on INSEAD, and that's why we are the champions of INSEAD out there. Welcome, Shantanu. I hope your problem is fixed now. Shantanu, we can't hear you.
All right. Hello, everyone. Just would like to know. Just would like to know if you guys can hear me and if everything is fine. I mean, like, are you guys hearing any echo or it's fine? Just would like to know. Just would like to know if you guys can hear me and if everything is fine. I mean, like, are you guys hearing any echo or it's fine? Just a minute.
Shantanu, do you think it's your laptop or it's the back end?
It's not my laptop though. There can't be any echo. But let me try with a different device.
Do you think it's your laptop? Apologies for this, guys. We're not sure what's really going on, but there's a lot of echo, and I think Shantanu should be back any minute.
Right, guys. Is it fine now? Is it better?
Yes, we don't hear any more echo.
Perfect. Yeah. All right, guys. Extremely sorry, for a little disturbance. But anyways, guys, welcome to this session with MBA and Beyond, and we really hope that you guys are going to enjoy this session. And this session is on how to get into INSEAD. And this is in collaboration with GMAT Club, like you guys know. And so thanks a lot, GMAT Club, for that. All right. So, guys, I'm Shantanu, founder of MBA and Beyond, and an INSEAD grad. We, with our unique process of content gathering framework, have helped students across the globe to get into schools such as INSEAD. I know you guys would have a lot of questions. So, like, whatever questions you have, which are going to be relevant to the topic which I'm speaking to, our team is going to raise that and would love to address those. Else, in the end, we actually have Q&A session. So I'm going to pick it up later. But please feel free to post your questions over here. All right, guys, let's talk about INSEAD. I'm really excited to talk about INSEAD. Like, the density of smart people per square meter is extremely high. It feels weird to be out of the school for a few months. Collectively, students create an environment where diverse opinions, business knowledge, and beers to socialize, obviously, are in every corner of the school. So, today in this session, the agenda which we have, we're going to talk about the three main points: Insead Values, Motivational Essays, and your post-MBA goals. Let's start with the Insead Values. INSEAD is a very fast-paced program compared with other B schools. 5 periods of 8 weeks each, boom, you're done with an MBA. Like when I was in my second period, I had only spent like 16 weeks. I was like, I'm already through 40% of my MBA, right? So, yeah, I mean, and like while you're at INSEAD, there are 3 S's which you got to follow, right? I wouldn't say follow, but you can only pick 2 out of those. You would want to do, but you can only pick 2 out of those. So one S is sleep, second S is study, and third S is socialize. These 3 S's are actually extremely important. Like I said, you can only pick 2. So the way you do is, like, 1 week you want to sleep and study, another week you want to sleep and socialize, and the third week you might drop the idea of sleeping at all, right? Anyways, so for school to provide you a brilliant experience, right, they shortlist applicants based on their values. Now, what are these values? Academic ability, leadership, international exposure, and ability to contribute. Let's talk about these one by one. Let's pick academic ability first, which is gauged by, I would say, through your past GPAs. It's been actually gauged by through your past GPAs and your GMAT GRE score. Though your score is just a piece in the puzzle, it's an important factor. High GMAT does not guarantee you an admission. And I would say score is more of an elimination criteria than selection. If you have a low GPA or score, we address it with the optional essay. Over the time, we have realized we have come up with a format which has helped many low scorers and applicants with low GPAs to get into the school. For example, GMAT 690 working with us got through INSEAD. Second point is leadership. Definition on Google is the person who leads or commands a group, organization, or country. But a leader is a person who rallies the effort of a team towards a common goal. And that's exactly what they're looking forward to. Any business school, I would say, that's exactly what they're looking forward to. And there's another point over here, which is a difference between a leader and a manager. A manager is someone who can channelize team's effort towards a goal by having authority over team members. Whereas a leader is someone who channelizes team's effort towards a common goal without having an authority. Team members follow leaders for their vision or goals. And that is why school mentioned they actually want to see leadership potential, not management potential, right? So you need to identify anecdotes displaying your potential for leadership. Again, potential for leadership, right? Obviously, they know you're still working close to the bottom of the pyramid. You wouldn't have had many opportunities to lead a team of like 30 or 40 people, right? But you do have leadership potential. This is something which adcoms are looking for: leadership potential. Now, the next point in the agenda is international exposure. Why is it required? In a business school, to be honest, in a business school, you learn more from your fellow batchmates than from the classroom. Guys, like all the topics, all the presentations, they're available online. You can just download them, go through it, right? But what's more important over there is, like, when you're doing your assignments with your study group, that actually matters a lot. The kind of learnings you have, it's humongous. So a study group consists of 5 to 6 team members. And you do your assignments, case studies, and projects together. And schools make sure that a study group is diverse, especially in INSEAD. There's a perfect blend of industries, nationalities, experience, and other factors. For example, in my study group at INSEAD, I was Indian from tech, Aussie from PE, Turkish VC, Brit consulting, Mexican FMCG. And our age was also really very different, guys. Though I hadn't put that stat over here, we were like, I was like 28. uh, I guess Aussie was 32, Turkish was 30, Mexican was 26, Brit was 25. I mean, she actually was a prodigy. But anyways, so guys, your learning comes from healthy discussions and arguments with each other over opinions. And if you have not experienced such a setting before, then chances are extremely high that you would not speak your mind out, which is not just going to hamper your growth and your learning, but your study group now falls short of one member. That is you. Since study group and interacting with your batchmates is the strongest form of learning, these schools pay special heed to the algorithm of making study groups to enhance your overall business school experience. Now, business schools just want to make sure that you will be a strong addition to the batch, to your study group, where you'll contribute in a diverse setting and not just sit back and watch. If you can prove your medal in such an environment, your profile becomes attractive to the admissions officer. If you have worked outside of a country, I mean, that is amazing. It's easier to showcase international experience. But even if you have not, if you can show that you have regularly interacted with multicultural teammates, that will also make a very strong point to your case. For example, in my case, in my first job, I worked with a team in Delhi, where they were two Aussies, one Brit, one Spanish, one Singaporean. The project director was American, and the client was sitting in Saudi. And apart from on a day-to-day basis, I would say daily, in every 2 hours, I would interact with suppliers in Europe, Middle East, North America, and Asia. Question: what did I do? I used to handle purchase orders. Now, also another thing, in my case, I also had experience of working outside of India, but it was only 5 to 6 months by the time I had applied. And to be honest, I had used no anecdote in my entire application about that job at all. Now, the fourth point is ability to contribute. For this, consider the perspective of the school, right? They are givers, they are takers. Everyone knows, school knows that you want to take a lot of stuff out of school, right? Be it the global perspective, be it the market, be it the knowledge which they are providing, right? But are you going to give anything to them? Which is pretty important for them to know, because like eventually, like I mentioned earlier, you learn from each other, from one another, right? And that is exactly where your ability to contribute matters. So you can actually show your contribution to the community, or to other students, right? And the way we show that is how your background contributes to the learning community positively. So it would be great if you can learn about the student life, the campus and the campus centers, and generally people feel about that I really need to join an NGO, right, to show that I have an ability to contribute. No, you don't have to be honest. It's more about a cause you stand for, which we are actually going to cover later on when we're going to discuss the essays. Okay, so the second point in our agenda, the motivational essays. I guess you guys would know what the essays are, but I'm still going to read it out. So the first motivational essay is: give a candid description of yourself, stressing the personal characteristics you feel to be your strengths and weaknesses, and the main factors which have influenced your personal development, giving examples when necessary. Right. So, guys, through this INSEAD MBA essay question is the same as that of a strength or weakness essay asked by most of the schools. Right. The committee is seeking to understand the unique characteristics motivations, and values. And at the same time, they also want to know the major life events and people you have helped shape your career as well as you as a person, who you are today, right? So if I have to break it down into elements, then the elements of this essay are kind of description, which we also say intro. We generally cover it. We say like part one is intro slash kind of description. Part two is strengths. Part three, weaknesses. Part four, personal development. Actually, part two and part three are interchangeable. You are free to put your weakness first and then your strength. Depends on the flow of your essay, right? There are actually a few notes over here. Number one, brag. Brag about yourself. If you the only source of information about who you are for that school is what you are providing, apart from the LOAs though, right? So you gotta brag, but brag modestly, right? So brag modestly kind of seems ironical, but that's what you gotta do. Be in the face. The words strength, weakness, personal development have to be explicitly mentioned. The reader should not have to hunt for these points. Well, like, what's the strength? What's the weakness? Where should I go? What's the personal development? No, make it easy for the adcom, right? Like think about the journey or the experience you're giving to adcom, right? Each paragraph, third point, each paragraph in your essay should have its distinct objective. Don't merge your intro with strength or your strength with weakness or your weakness with or your strength with personal development. That's clumsy and that's cluttery, right? So each and every paragraph should have its own objective. Intro, separate para. Strength, separate para. And then everything has its own paragraph. Personal development. You would have consultants, giving different opinions, but what we feel and what the successes which we have had in the past is that the personal development, you don't really have to connect with the strengths or weaknesses. It can be separate. But personal development should be something which drives who you are, which really tells them what's your driving factor, something which is a motivation for you, and you're still running. It's still keeping you powered up, right? That's what your personal development is. Like what influenced your personal development. So explain the personal development, elaborate on it, and especially talk about once you realize that this is what this is actually something which has influenced my personal development. What do you do in order to keep up with it? How do you cope up with it? How are you aligned with it? For example, guys, I'm going to give you a sample essay for this, right? And all the essays which we are discussing over here, we are going to provide you the sample essays, and Bharati is going to share a link, and then you can get your sample essays. But anyway, so moving to the sample essays, paragraph one, part one, I would say, was intro, right? So guys, this is my essay. Here it goes. It was 5th May 2015. I told my employees at the company I founded in 2013 that we are shutting the operations from tomorrow as our working capital requirements were not getting fulfilled and we could not raise the second round of funding despite our best efforts. The team was upset, but I could see that one employee, Rishabh, was upset more than others as I had influenced him to quit his job and join happybatua.com. Yeah, that was the name of the company, as a designer. I inquired and found he was upset with me because I had brought team members to a state where they had started depending on my vision for the company, which was surely not to close down so soon. Thus, it seemed that I abandoned them. Right? So you see, this is intro. This is kind of description. I'm not saying that I'm good at this or I'm bad at that. No, nothing at all. I'm just explaining a moment, right? And then injecting a few attributes. Second paragraph, here in my case, is my weakness. It has been around 7 months from then, and I have moved on to become an employee at xyz.com from an entrepreneur at happybatua.com. Looking back, I clearly find myself as a short-sighted leader at that point in time who saw the tornado coming and took a preventive route but left the followers to their plight. Carrying the ownership of my mistake, I helped my team of 13 employees find jobs through my personal and professional network across India and found Rishabh a job of a senior designer where he could follow his passion of design. Third para is my strength now. I also helped the team negotiate salary package that was worth the caliber, and most of them realized a good growth. Time and again, I hear from my peers that I'm a good negotiator. I was convinced of this ability in me during my work at XYZ Limited. I joined straight after my bachelor degree in engineering. For my skills, I was promoted to the position of purchasing specialist in 2 years. Just after promotion, I was asked to participate in negotiation of contracts worth INR 100 crores. The main factor now, guys, like I mentioned, that your personal development could be really, like that thing could be really very different from what you were telling earlier. So here's the example. The main factor that drives me and which has influenced my personal development is my passion to succeed in whatever I do. I spend time introspecting my expectations from myself. Then I aim to supersede those expectations with not only hard work, but also with knowledge that I have imbibed over the years. Following my rule book of learning something new every day. I follow the equation 1.01 to the power 365 is 37.8, which is interpreted as follows. Gain 1% knowledge every day, you would have 37.8 times of your current knowledge in a year, inching towards infinitely big perfectionism. The other thing I mentioned is we're really gonna talk about, like how do you cope up with that, like how you align with this particular philosophy of yours. Like this was fluff, to be honest. This is pure philosophy. There's no evidence over here, right? Now here follows the evidence. During college, I read extra books for this knowledge. During my entrepreneurial venture, I met with new people every day to learn from them. In the last few months in Singapore, I have allocated time on weekends with my American, Chinese, and Singaporean friends to learn about how recent startups have solved the problems and what other verticals can be explored. Colon. Right. This brings us to our second essay, which is describe the achievement of which you are proud and explain why. In addition, describe a situation where you failed. How did these experiences impact your relationships with others? Comment on what you learned. This is pretty simple. I mean, you actually got to break it into two parts. One is achievement, one is failure. Actually, three parts: achievement, failure, and the last part is about, how did it influence your relationship with the others, right? With achievement over here, guys, we display leadership. That's something which we make sure that we got to display leadership and your ability to contribute. We pick an anecdote which might be in your professional setting, but it's a cause you stand for personally. It's not that you have a manager sitting with stick in their hand, pushing you to complete a job. It's a KPI, you got to finish it, and then you say, whoa, voila, I did that. No, not that. Second part is failure, right? We're not here to sing songs around how you magnificently failed. No. Job over here is to mention failure in a couple of sentences and then move away from on learnings. Show them how have you improved. Show them what have you learned, right? And the third part, like I mentioned, is going to be upon how have achievement and failure both affected, impacted your relationship with others, right? Again, I'm going to throw a sample. Here it goes. It's going to start with achievement. Like I said, though it's in professional setting, but it's a cause that the applicant stands for. Personally, in February 19, following the lift of 67-year-old ban that prohibited women from working at night in surface mines, ABC Corp decided to employ women full-time on red sites. We observed resistance from the male-dominated regional employee unions, a cultural barrier of patriarchal society prevalent almost everywhere in the country. Since childhood, I have observed this problem, and unfortunately, all I could do was to watch this ordeal. Here was my first chance to make a difference. The biggest challenge was to hide my emotions while speaking with unions, listening to their obtuse opinions. So, guys, like until now, I guess one point which I missed was that the way we are going to project achievement is going to be in star I format. You would have heard about star. I is something which we inject. So star is situation, task, action, result, but we also put an impact, right? So until now, I only explained situation and task. Now, the next paragraph is packed with actions. I organized interactive sessions with our female managers. I streamed awareness sessions on how other countries have broken this barrier and organized one-on-one sessions with union leaders to overcome the resistance and psychological barriers. I worked on setting up of separate pantry and toilets for women to provide safe and conducive workplace. I persuaded contractors to offer referral bonus to workers on referring females for field jobs. I also led efforts to convince senior management to extend the purview of prevention of sexual harassment policy and internal complaints committee to female contractors working on REG and set up fortnightly session with female managers to address their concerns. Just packed with actions and action verbs. Here comes the result. 25 women who joined in the first 3 months described the experience at REG as truly empowering and conducive during our weekly interactions. Right. So, guys, I mean, while talking about result, we could have said that this is what my most significant achievement is. Right. The deal is if we're going to put a number to why this achievement is the most significant one, right? Then we make you comparable, right? And this is something which we hate to do. We don't want you to be comparable. We want you to be unique. And that is where impact plays a huge role. The impact over here is my contribution to breaking the gender stigma, a first in the male dominated industry, is the biggest achievement of my life, right? Now, you can't be compared over here, right? Now, moving to the failure. So it goes like unapproachability was my biggest failure as a rig manager. Ranjit, a mud engineer, was mentally distracted owing to his daughter's illness and fell from mud tank 10 feet high and suffered multiple injuries. Ranjit tried to speak to me that day, but to me the day before to take some time off my bad. Now I learned how vital approachability is, especially on rigs, where serious accidents might happen at work. Now I organize lunch meetups with the staff of 120 plus, where everybody is welcome to join and share anything. I have also initiated an open door system, encouraging openness and transparency with the employees, enabling them to approach for any personal or workplace matter. Listening to varied personal experiences has inculcated empathy in me, improving my emotional quotient and fostered an ability to forge strong interpersonal connection with my team. And this is how we answer how it has influenced your relationship with others. All right, guys, this brings us to the last motivational essay, which is describe all types of extra professional activities in which you have been or are still involved for a significant amount of time. How are you enriched by these activities? So, if you see until now, we talked about strengths, talked about weaknesses, we talked about what really influences personal development, right? Over there, we were really focusing on your professional life. Then comes achievement and failure, where we really tried, at least in achievement, we really try to bring in a personal angle, cause, something which you stand for. You are contributing to the community as well, right? Here in EC, we again bring back the element of contributing to the community, right? And the way we do it is this particular essay is 300 words long. So you can afford to share, I would say, 2 activities. Activity number 1 is something through which you are enriched personally. And activity number 2 is something which you're doing for the society or for the community, right? And honestly, activities don't matter at all. What matters is how are you enriched. Your activity could be anything. What's more important is how are you enriched, right? So here, I mean, with this particular essay, INSEAD also wants to, they have an opportunity. I mean, you have an opportunity to show to the admissions council that you're a well-rounded person with hobbies and interests. You're not a machine, right? And this extends beyond your professional life. While writing the INSEAD MBA essay, you need to balance depth and breadth. Depthness and breadthness, I would say, right? So, guys, I also have a sample for this one, right? And like I said, we're going to share all these samples, and Pardi would let you know how. Sample goes like this: cracking the government exam for free and better education. 8-year-old me went to boarding school. Staying away from family, I decided to work on my self defense and picked up karate in my formative years, shaping my thought process. I learned that how skill and self discipline can outmaneuver muscle power, instilling belief in me that impossible is a mindset which can be changed. That stuck with me throughout life and changed my perspective to look at world differently. Karate also helps me in channelizing my energy and letting go of negative thoughts and contributing towards my physical and mental fitness. So guys, this was the first element which I talked about, that how are you enriched personally, right? Now comes the second part, where how are you contributing to the community. Since childhood, I've always paid attention to my surroundings, especially environment, climate. For instance, I realized that a massive source for coal is burning underground in a nearby city for 100 years, and the fumes from burning coal have caused health hazards for local people. To spread awareness and get the attention of the local government and the major corporations, I wrote a research paper that was published by local newspapers and by Global Ethics Review magazine. Getting support from the local bodies, then the name of the school, in it, which is Indian School of Mines, the uproar made corporations succumb to acknowledge the effect on the environment, making corporations bear the cost of relocating 70% of the local people and ensuring their livelihood. I keep a close eye on progress with the local NGOs. Until now, 65% of my family, 65% of the families have been relocated with free healthcare for people suffering from lung diseases. The fact that my efforts resulted in positive change with serious attempt by government to put out fire gives me great satisfaction in leading a life with purpose. Also, it puts my heart at ease that I've taken preemptive steps, stopping fire from spreading and safeguarding my family and friends. So, guys, this applicant had a 690, and I feel apart from this, there was another very strong point in the profile, but I feel this particular anecdote did a lot for the applicant to get through. And apart from INSEAD, applicant also got through LBS with a 100% scholarship. Moving to the next point, last point in the agenda, which is post-MBA goals. And guys, this is extremely, extremely important, right? I mean, and we call it in a framework, explain your plan. Like, what is your plan? What are you going to do? So your plan starts with what's the long-term goal, right? Because success is a vector quantity. Along with the magnitude, you need direction. And the long term gives you direction. To achieve your long term, you need to have a very strong short term, right? Short term is the first milestone you will meet in the direction of your long term goal. So, short term and long term should be connected. For example, in short term, I would like to start baking banana bread. In long term, I would like to open a Harley Davidson store of mine. Connected? No. Right. Versus in short term, I would like to start baking banana bread. In long term, I would like to open bakery with cakes from around the world. Right. So guys, it's fine to take a leap in long term, right? It's perfectly fine. In short term, you got to be really very specific, because schools really want you to be employable, right? You feel that schools are going to make you employable, schools already take care of it by looking at your profile, by looking at the story, by looking at the plan which you're pitching to them. So your long-term and short-term goals should be connected. And please be fair. There are actually a few common answers which almost everyone gives. And like when I'm working, when the other consultants are working, and then maybe on with the applicants, the most common post-MBA goal is, I would like to be a management consultant. Wonderful. If all of you are going to be management consultant, then do you think school for diversity is going to give all of you an admit? No, right? I mean, you can also figure that out. Another common mistake which people make, that in long term, I want to be a CEO of a conglomerate. All right. But does it tell that, like, what are you going to do? Or does it tell that Is there something you stand for? Is that, is it going in that direction, or you just want to be a CEO? You might not be a CEO, you might be a VP, right? But I mean, what matters is direction, right? So please don't put up such kind of statements. Um, Also, a lot of people, a lot of oil and gas professionals are going for MBA these days, right? Everyone wants to be in renewable sector. How are you different? I mean, I would say renewable or clean tech. How are you different, right? You got to pitch yourself uniquely. Apart from this, I feel after working with so many applicants, I feel one thing which people feel, which applicants feel, and which is, I think, apart from being a management consultant, the the second biggest common mistake is applicants tend to make their plan look really very shiny. You know, I am the next Elon Musk, right? That doesn't work, guys. What is more important is the feasibility of a plan. Another very important element in the application, especially while you are describing your goals, which is never answered directly but stays tacit, is that you need to instill confidence in the eyes of the admission officer that you will be able to achieve what you are saying. If you say you're going to take people to Mars, what are you doing now? Are you doing anything? If no, then please don't say that, right? So, goals, especially short term goal, revolves around three main factors: domain, function, location. And we recommend, and also INSEAD says that only change two out of these three. Don't change all the three. It's not going to help you. And we from our end add another element to it, which is opportunity. Do you see a particular trend in the industry, wherever you are, or whatever your post-MBA goals are? If you see a trend, if you see that this industry is going to go there in the next 5 years, where do you see yourself contributing to this particular industry? And we feel that is your long-term goal, and that's the best long-term goal you have. For instance, for example, post MBA, I would like to work in product management for supply chain tech innovation in MNCs such as Amazon, right? You see like how specific we are in short term, right? Now in long term, I want to head the digital operations strategy team for an international organization to provide disruptive digital supply chain solutions. So guys, we help you prepare short term and long term statements on the basis of which we get the answer of IMBA. Honestly, like once you have these things prepared, it's very easy to get the answer of IMBA. One important thing is collinearity over here when you're talking about your goals. And what does collinearity means? Your current work experience, your post MBA goal, which is a short term goal, and the reason for MBA should be collinear. Collinearity means is you guys might have studied it in quant. When 3 points are collinear, it means they fall on the same straight line. If we can prove collinearity with the 3 points, it clearly displays that you have clarity of thoughts. That's something which we help you with. All right. So I guess, guys, I hope you have enjoyed this. The things which I've shared until now. Whatever questions you have, please feel free to drop in your questions. Though I see that there are a few questions, but I'm actually going to hand it over to Paridhi at the moment. Meanwhile, I'm going to take a read at the question. We'll be more than happy to answer those.
All right. Thanks for the insightful session, Shantanu, and thank you for guys being here with us today. I am sure you all are looking for the sample essay. Some of you have already sent in your requests. You guys can all again send in your request if you really want to access the essays. Those are the best of the lot that we could pick for you. And with very challenging profiles, low GMAT scores, low GPA. Some of them had like a gap year, etc. So we were able to cover up for all those nuances and the negatives in the profile to eventually make the applicant stand out. Now, before, by the way, I didn't introduce myself because I had to cover up for Shantanu in the beginning a little. I'm the co-founder of MBA and Beyond, and I envision with all of you guys to lay a stage to solve real world problem and get all the top global business leaders together to solve real world problems so that we can move towards SDGs and sustainability. And MBA, I figured that is the best route for it because you manage and you bring together your knowledge and your skill set for business to solve real world problems. A lot of you have spoken to me, and a lot of you are going to speak to me to evaluate profiles. So I think you guys already have the link. And might I tell you, INSEAD is the most and is the craziest application that you can ever imagine in a business school world. Shantanu and other consultants who we work with, they say that it takes on an average 45 days to pull off a really kick-ass INSEAD application. So if you're really looking for your March 1 deadline, which is now like a little over 45 days that you can expect, you should be getting on your work right now. And you should really be getting to do all the brainstorming with the right approach and the right frameworks right now. If you're thinking September, then it's still okay, but you know this is the heaviest application. Most of the applicants say that when they do INSEAD application, they are able to articulate or self work or rework any application that they want to write afterwards. INSEAD also happens to be having a deadline around a time when you apply. You should be able to know the results soon. So you basically put all your bets into one school because the deadline is 1st March. You apply, you know whether you're in or you're out. So basically, you're not applying to tens of schools to figure out whether or not you're in, or whether or not you're out or you're dinged. All right. So there's a very specific process that we've designed to ensure no matter what background you come from, we should be able to get the best out of you to make it through to INSEAD, whatever challenges you have. That's the framework and the process I'm going to be talking about. It's been very carefully curated, keeping INSEAD in mind. Our process takes you through a journey, and the most important and first step of that journey is content gathering phase. It is split into 3 sets. Set 1 revolves around very high level questions around core and fundamentals of any business school, no matter what business school you're applying to. We don't expect you to know that, but yes, broadly, it has all the questions that any school can entail. And why INSEAD is that particular school that was used to define this framework was because INSEAD literally wants to know inside and outside of your life's journey. It asks you everything and beyond any business school outside of INSEAD can expect. Now we get you by the end of this set of content gathering phase, when you've answered your questions, you'd realize that you have gathered enough understanding of vision that you have. What are your post MBA goals, which becomes the most critical part because all of you can't be becoming management consultants. So what are the unique post MBA goals that you can picture and project in your application? You can also understand a lot about the evidences and how they connect to your post MBA goals. You will also realize that there has to be a real world problem. It could be a social problem or a business problem that you want to solve post MBA. And this content gathering phase and this set is going to help you come to the answers for them. We're going to brainstorm with you through this process so that you are able to design a very unique MBA pitch for yourself. Then we move on to set 2. This is a little quirky step, and some people even find it intimidating. But let me tell you, why do we do what we do? So we really got deep into the process of understanding how our admissions committees navigating through the applicants, what's the flavor of the year, what are they really looking for in an applicant, and how are they going to make up a cohort in a certain year. One thing that we've noticed that stays common across all business schools over the years is that they have a knack of identifying self biases in your application. Now, when I say self biases, you'll be able to see that when you're answering INSEAD's questions around strengths and weaknesses, you realize that you have a lot of examples to support your strengths. But when you talk about your weaknesses, you sort of try to defend yourself, and that's only natural because we're human beings and Homo sapiens try to defend themselves in any particular situation. So we don't try to look ugly on the face of the application. Business schools are aware of that. Admissions committee know that this is what you're trying to do. Second, and I'm sorry to be to become so brutally honest on this forum because it's going to go live and stay out there. Most of the time for Indian applicants, the recommenders say that why don't you write your recommendation yourself and we're going to submit it on your behalf. And the worst thing that happens with this is the applicant is only going to write good things about themselves and is not going to put a third person eye or a holistic approach to it. Business schools are again aware that this has been happening with Asian and Indian applicants. They don't have a problem with that, but what they're seeking is a fairly neutral individual to become a part of their cohort. How can you project yourself self bias free and neutral? How do you do that? So we do that for you. We, as your facilitator, need to make sure that we understand you holistically from a third person perspective before we even start working on your application. So we're going to ask you to pick three really important people in your life, one personal, one professional, and the third one could be either of them. We send them a really candid questionnaire to collect some information and some stories on you. And you'd be surprised the number of times you're going to go back to this content to make yourself unique. Look uniquely self bias free and very neutral for the admissions committee of INSEAD. All right, that's set 2. Then we move on to set 3. This is based on one of the most common mistakes that applicants make when they belong to an overrepresented pool, that they tend to become more and more professional in their application. However, to tell you the truth, and I know 90% of you haven't heard this, admissions committee are looking for 100% personality in your essays. They want to understand how well do you match the value system that the school holds true. The values that Shantanu just brought to your notice that NCR really holds true. So you have to make sure that you are portraying and you're projecting the right stories in your personality that match the value system INSEAD has lived by and wants to live by. So how can you do that? Here, you definitely can't be talking about just professional journeys, because if you moved a KPI from point A to point B, there could be another person who could have moved it from point A to point C. So definitely that's not contributing to any uniqueness that you have in your profile. Here we recommend that we put you through a personality test. Based on the results of the test, we define the traits that become the backbone of your application, and everything else that you've done in your life is going to hang around it as a supporting piece of evidence. Once all of this is done, you are going to sit down with your consultant, and your consultant is again going to be an alum of LBS or INSEAD or any top, and they devote unlimited hours to you to just come up with a very unique MBA pitch for you. Your consultant sits on all the content that you've gathered, comes up with a one-pager branding document, which is your MBA pitch, which has all the content that you've gathered framed in a storyline, your strategy, your theme, and your direction. This is your sales, your investment, or your marketing pitch to an admissions committee. You have to make them believe that you're 100% employable and you're going to be a darn good global business leader. That's the objective. We come up with that story. This lays the bottom line or your foundation for any business school application that you're doing. And then we start slowly working on your essays, on your LOR, resume, anything that's required extra like optional essay, video interviews. And finally, if you make it to the final round, we have post application support to help do a lot of mock sessions and be more prepared than what we expect the interviewer can ask you for. So that's the full process. Let me know if you have any questions. We know we have a lot of questions for Shantanu waiting in the chat window there. So we'll be tackling them one by one. If you're interested in working with us, I would just like to share something with you. Give me a second. Okay. Abhijit, can I ask for your help? Because, all right, thanks a lot. All right, so if you're looking to work with us, there are 2 questions basically we want you to answer, because our consultants only work with 7 applicants per cycle, and we want to devote unlimited hours. So we evaluate our applicants very honestly, because we really want to be successful with you. So if you're interested in working with us, we would need to evaluate on you we would need to evaluate you for these two questions. The first one is, what is your short-term and long-term goal? And the second one is bringing out some examples of international experience from your life. You just need to answer these two questions, and you can send the replies to Neha at mbandbeyond.com. She'll be evaluating your chances. And second, one of the things that you can do is, since it's GMAT Club, you can send her a direct message on GMAT Club, and I'm sure she'd be able to let you know if we're going to start working together soon for INSEAD. March 1 is INSEAD's deadline, so if you're really targeting that, right now is the time that you should be starting to work on your application. All right, now we're going to be tackling questions. Shantanu, we want you back on the screen.
All right. So the first question, plan to give my GMA in a few months. Before I complete my undergrad later in June, post that plans to work for 2 to 3 years, taking advantage of the 5-year score applicability enough for INSEAD. To be honest, like I said earlier, GMAT is just a piece of the puzzle. Just looking at INSEAD, just looking at GMAT, we can't say anything. Even if you score 800 on 800, it's not going to give you a guarantee. I mean, it's eventually about all the values, if you're able to fulfill those values or not. And I'm going to repeat the values. Academic ability, which definitely is gonna, your GMAT score or whatever GMAT, GRE, GPA is gonna contribute over there. Then your leadership potential, you gotta share anecdotes where you have, displayed your leadership potential. Third thing is your international exposure, and then ability to contribute. Score alone does not give you anything. Okay. Second question again from Uday. What makes a 1-year INSEAD program better than a two-year tier 1 program? A lot, to be honest. I mean, if I'm given the chance, I'm again going to do it from INSEAD. One of the biggest reasons is that if you see the average salary, it stays the same. I'm only doing a 1-year course, and in the second year, I'm earning. Right. So overall debt on my head at the end of 2 years is going to be much less, right? I mean, it's really going to be lesser than a 2-year MBA program. I mean, if you're going to earn the same thing, right, then it actually makes more sense in terms of ROI, right? Another thing is that there are a lot of people when we speak to, they're more like, I don't want to spend 2 years because I think I'm capable enough of going through the rigorous program and really grasping all the knowledge which they're throwing in 10 months, or other schools when they're throwing in 1 year, right? So from that perspective, I would say the second year is the opportunity cost. If you're fine sitting and not earning, then go for 2-year MBA for sure. Again, it depends actually, to be honest. I mean, if you have like more than 5-6 years of experience, I would say go for 1 year. Less than that, stay with 2 years. All right. All right, there's another question which says, have you seen any case of students deviating from the post-MBA goals? Oh yeah, I mean, almost all of them. I mean, guys, think about this. When you're not entered into the program, right, you feel you have presented your plan, you feel you're going to do this. Once you are in there, you could be an investment banker, you could be a management consultant, you could be a product manager, you could be, someone in finance heading the FinOps, you could be someone heading the HR, right? There's so many things, there's so many flavors, so many dishes that you can have, which you did not have the options earlier, right? So most of the people, I would say, they differ, but it's more about now they have experienced a lot of options, like post MBA options. They have prepared well for it. It's not just about getting a job, it's more about preparing. It's about setting up a direction pretty early if you're getting into a 10-month program, right? So just to answer your question again straight away, yes, a lot of them. Next question is from Sri Lakshmi. Does a GMAT 700 plus ensure admission at top 50 business school? I think it's similar to the previous question, which was just on GMAT. Guys, no. It's your overall profile. It's not just your GMAT score. It really depends what your industry is. It really depends whether you have established collinearity with your goals, with your reason of why MBA, with what you're doing currently. It's also about whether you have display leadership potential. Just your GMAT score is not going to help you, right? Again, I'm going to say, even if you score 780, right, which is kind of the highest score you can get, right? Or I don't know, like people can get 800 or not, but even if you score 780, no, does not guarantee. Okay, another question from there. Do applicants who haven't studied at a tier 1 university or worked at a top firm overlooked and rejected early on? No, no, they are not. But one thing which we have noticed over the time, apart from the values which we have discussed, is your career progression. If you can show career progression, that's really going to help you, even if you're not from the top tier industries, top tier colleges. And I mean, if you can show that, in the past 3 years I've gained like 2 promotions, or in the past 5 years I've gained like 3 promotions, right? Or the area of responsibility increased from here to here, because Insead actually gives you opportunity to write about these things, right? So yeah, I mean, your career progression matters a lot. Your career trajectory matters a lot. And INSEAD job essays, third job essay specifically talks about that. And even the second job essay, where they say that if you have to be in the same company, where do you see yourself? We feel that that's the right step for you to talk about that. This is how I have grown until now, and I see myself here after a year or after 6 months. So your career progression matters a lot if you're not from a top tier university. Right. I think that is it. That's it. Right. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, everyone, for staying in. And like Paradhi mentioned, please, I mean, if you want sample essays, please visit our website. There's a link over here. And we'll love to send you the sample essays over emails. And also, please, fill the answers for those questions which Paradhi shared. And if we align, if you're collinear, we would love to help you. I see there's another question. Suddenly there are 3 questions. Okay, good to know that. Siddharth Sharma, how much work experience benefit chance of getting into INSEAD? To be honest, 4.5 to 6.5. It's a pretty sweet spot. If you're under that, if you're over that, then obviously I wouldn't say we gotta defend it aggressively, but we gotta make a case. So 4.5 to 6.5 is a pretty sweet spot, I would say. Do applicants with more than average years of experience in them 10 years hamper the chances? I would say it doesn't hamper the chance. It's more about how do you want to pitch a story, right? Like why, I mean, with 10 years of experience, you really got to showcase why now you need it, right? I mean, if a school can get someone with 5.5 years of experience, showcasing leadership potential, why should they take you? So you actually got to pitch your case better. You can do it through the optional essay, or you can do it through while you're explaining a story, through motivational essays as well. But having said that, no, it doesn't hamper your chance. It's more about how do you pitch your case. The next question, I guess, is, can one apply for a second MBA? Yes, you can. We've helped a lot of applicants with the second MBA. Again, it's more about what was wrong with the first one, right? I mean, you really got to show, like generally in India, people straight away go to do an MBA after their undergrad, right? It's easier to pitch a case. But having said that, yes, you can do a second MBA. And the other person I was talking about, I mean, we have actually helped a lot of applicants with second MBA getting through INSEAD and other European business schools as well. Lakshya Mittal, even without WorkX, one can go for deferred admission, right? Yes, obviously. I mean, that's what deferred admissions are about. Can't check specifically for INSEAD. But yes, I guess, for deferred admission, yes, you can. I mean, that's the entire point of deferred application, right? You either should be in the fourth, in the last year of your education, or in the first year of your job. So yes, you can. Right. That's it. Right. Yeah, guys, I mean, if you are looking for additional advice on your MBA application, feel free to schedule a session. I wouldn't say with me, but with Paridhi, we'll actually let you know about the pros and cons of your profile, what exactly is the gap in your profile, and how will we be able to help you. That's a free session you have. Feel free to schedule a session over here. And guys, I mean, even if you're not scheduling that, all the best for your future, right? Really wish you can admit and you achieve your goals. All right. Cheers, everyone. Have a great day ahead.